G'day there guys, it's your main man Markee, back at it again with another episode of I Don't Work Here Lady. Now if you don't work here lady, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbie, and enjoy the video. Posted by user Wiggle It Loose, titled, Douchebaguette didn't like my answers to her questions, even though I was relentlessly honest. I'm telling you about one event, but I must have a retail face, because I'm approached so often. I wear a suit at work. When I call in at any shop on the way home, I leave my jacket in the car, so I'm just wearing a shirt and tie. I couldn't tell you how many times people assume I'm staff. If they're civil, I'm civil. If they're struggling, I'm helpful. If they're rude, I have fun. The reason I remember this one is because I've said all of these things separately before, but this was the first time I got them all squeezed into one single interaction. It just went so perfectly, it will never happen again. I had called into a large supermarket to pick up birthday candles. I first saw the woman being very rude to another customer for no apparent reason. Imagine Rush Limbaugh in drag. Sorry to put that in your head, she was just impatient and the other customer wasn't moving fast enough for her liking, so she was insulting her. She definitely ranked above a-hole, so let's call her douchebaguette or DB for short. As she turned, I saw the missile lock in her eyes as she spotted me. She galumphed her way over. I decided to enjoy it, and settled on being deadpan literal as a plan. I looked away. She says, "Excuse me?" "Why? What have you done?" "What?" She paused for a second, looking like a dog that had been shown a card trick. Then angrily asked, "Can you help me?" "I couldn't possibly know. I don't know what you want." She makes a Tucker Carlson face. "Where do you keep your eyelash curlers?" "I don't keep them anywhere." "Yes, you do. I've seen them before." "I'm certain I don't. I've never owned any. My eyelashes manage to bend all on their own. I'm more than happy with the bendiness of my eyelashes." "Huh? What? No, idiot. I mean the shop. Where in the shop are the eyelash curlers?" "I haven't got a clue." "Why not?" "I refer you to my previous answer. I never use them." "Ugh! Are you trying to be stupid?" "No, it's effortless." "This is insane. Are you going to find out where the eyelash curlers are, or would you prefer that I speak to your manager?" "I'd say neither, but if I had to choose, I'd go for option B." "What? You want me to speak to your manager?" "Well, no." She shakes her head in angry confusion and says, You just said you did." "No, I didn't. You asked me which I'd prefer. If I was offered a rectal exam or a slap in the face, I don't want either, but I'd prefer the second to the first. See how it works?" This is a phrase I use with my wife when she gives me crappy alternatives. She stood in silence for a few seconds with her mouth open and the deepest frown. She then built up to a shout with, "This is ridiculous!" "I completely agree. Where is your manager?" "I'm not exactly sure, but my guess would be at home with his family." "Ah, you're being stupid! Who supervises you here in this store right now?" She actually stamped her foot twice when she shouted, "Right now." I say, "Nobody." "What? Why not?" "Because I don't need to be supervised. I haven't needed supervision in a shop since I was about 9 years old." "Oh my god, it's like talking to the wall." I could see that her shouting had attracted a member of management. She was approaching quickly and saying, "Why aren't you helping me?" "Why would I?" I think I saw a slight hint of understanding spread across her puzzled face. "You do work here, don't you?" "No." "Why didn't you fudging say so?" "You didn't ask me. Until now." The manager arrived just as douchebaguette shouted into my face, "You're a fudging moron." Manager says to douchebaguette, "Madam, please lower your voice and stop swearing. There are children in the store." And the manager says to me, "What's happening, sir?" I'm not really sure. This woman was being rude to another customer, then she approached me and started to interrogate me about my personal grooming habits. She wasn't happy with my answers and started to spit shout at me. "No, that's not fudging true. I was shouting because I thought he worked here." Manager says, "Whether he was an employee or not, you can't talk like that. You can't abuse customers, and we have a strict policy about abuse towards staff. We don't tolerate it. It's not my fault he's a fudging idiot. If he had... And she was interrupted by the manager. Please stop shouting. The manager pressed transmit on her radio and said, Security, urgent code 4, aisle 14, and asks me, Are you okay, sir? Yes, I'm fine. I just needed birthday candles. Could you tell me where they are? What the fudging hell is going? Stop shouting. Stop swearing. If I have to warn you again, you will have to leave the store. Manager says to me, They're on aisle 22. Okay, thank you. I started to walk away. Meanwhile, DB was still shouting. 2 security staff turned the corner and passed me on their way to DB. I could hear her shouting for another 30 seconds. The next time I saw DB, I was standing at the self-checkout. She was being followed out of the store by security staff. She was complaining into her phone, loudly but unclearly about the shop, the staff, and some fudging moron, as she left empty-handed. Do you think that moron was me? I was wishing so hard for her to look left and see me, but she didn't. If she had shouted at me, regardless of what she said, I was going to raise my little box of candles and say, Yes, thanks, I found them. The whole thing was so funny. I almost broke and nearly started laughing when she stamped her foot in time with right now. I've been mistaken for staff dozens of times, but I've never had it go so perfectly. Probably never will, and don't expect a sequel. Posted by user, PM me your fine body. Titled, Wild Karen thinks I work in IT and causes my chest to pop out in a busy store. My username may look like a 12-year-old boy made it, but I'm 20 female, just to stop the confusion here. I posted this in a different thread but was told it belongs here. My boyfriend is 18 male and Karen is in her early 40s. I was shopping today in Iowa for the first time. I live in Chicago, but I'm staying with my boyfriend until people start having some common sense again in my city. I have an Asian accent, mixed with a little French, and I was talking to my boyfriend when a wild Karen grabbed the back of my shirt. She pulled so I would be face to face with her, but my chest flew out of my shirt in the process because she pulled on my binding cloth that I use on my breasts. The bras that are my size are very expensive, so I started binding them because it's much cheaper and I can move around more with it. She loosened the cloth and ruined it. I had an angry Karen yelling at me for being indecent, and she also said, Now you have to fix my computer for free because you scared my son with those things. She thought I worked in IT because I look Asian, even though I have a tattoo on my arm that says, The Asian Mechanic in bold lettering. The store only sold food, so I don't know how she got the thought. Once my boyfriend noticed my chest were hanging out, he took off his shirt and put it over my chest, then started yelling at Karen about how stupid she was. Imagine having a kid that looks to be in his mid-20s, with scars all over his body, yelling at a woman that is around a foot shorter than him. This happened in the span of less than 1 minute, and I'm still trying to comprehend what has happened. I'm still shaking a bit from it. Dear Lord, that is a mess. I'm glad that it resolved itself. Posted by user Chaos Dinosaur 2, titled, I can't fix a fence I don't own. This is actually an I don't live here story. A few years ago, I was walking my dog past a rowboat club place where they do races and lessons. Sometimes for events, the parking lot gets pretty full, and it was one of those days. As I walked past the parking lot, an angry gentleman got my attention. Disgruntled rowboat boomer says, You really need to fix that fence. It's been like that for 6 months. And he gestures to the fence between the rowing club and the house next door, which is broken and has fallen across part of the parking lot. I'm confused, but trying to be sympathetic and say, I'm sorry, I don't work here. I know that, but that's your fence, so you need to fix it. Listen, I know it broke because of all that heavy snow we got this winter, but it's been 6 months. It's taking up 2, maybe 3 parking spots. Oh, that's not my house either. He scowls in utter disbelief. What do you mean that's not your house? I'm just walking my dog. I live half a mile away. I've seen you around here. It's not that hard. You pick up a phone book, you look up fence repair. It's absolutely ridiculous. Every time I come here, it's a giant pain in my ass to find parking. That's really annoying, but I don't live there, so I can't help you. Well, she's your neighbor then. Can't you help her to fix her goddamn fence? She's really not my neighbor. Like I said, I live half a mile away. But you talk to her. I saw you talk to her. This has been going on for 6 months and nothing's changed. I realized he just wanted to yell at somebody, so I finally walked away. I wished I threw his phone book comment at him and told him that he should look up any random person and yell at them instead. They have just as much to do with this as me. Posted by user Dag the Bolf, titled Smartass Me Deals with a Rude Karen. So as a preface, I may have shared this story here before a while back. I don't remember if I did, but it is kind of funny, so I figured I would share it anyway. Another thing you need to know is I have some severe anxiety issues, but this story happened maybe 6 or 7 years ago before I developed the problem, so I was a bit more brazen back then. Anyway, I was shopping at the Big Blue store famous for their selection of Karens when I passed by this sweet little old lady. She asked me to grab a case of soda off of the top shelf. This is nothing new because I'm 6'6", and people ask me a lot to do stuff like this. I also live life by the golden rule you were taught as a child. Treat those how you want to be treated. I got the soda for the sweet old lady and asked her if she needed any more help. She declined and thanked me, so I started to walk away to grab the other things on my list. As I was walking down the aisle, looking at my list, trying to decide where I should head next, I heard 2 words shouted at presumably me. You, boy! I look up and see this abomination of a Karen sneering at me. She had the classic haircut, probably weighed more than me as an already overweight super tall giant, in leopard print leggings and a shirt that was being tortured by being worn by someone who was most likely 3 sizes too big for it. She had only said 2 words to me and I already didn't like her. Remember how I said I live by the golden rule? Well, that works both ways. And since she was rude out of the gate, that must mean that she wants to be treated rudely also. I just wasn't exactly sure how to be rude to her yet. Get that soda off the top shelf for me now. I'm in a hurry. She said that to me while her volume was turned up to 11. So I said, as a smartass, I don't work here. If you want me to help you, I'm gonna need to hear a please first. She shrieked, obviously you work here. I just saw you help that other tramp. Wow. Just wow. Now she insulted that sweet old lady after being rude to me. That I decided what I would do, based entirely off of what would be the funniest thing to do. Oh, I'm sorry about that. Which soda did you want again? She pointed aggressively at a case of Fresca on the very top shelf. I grabbed the case off the shelf and went to hand it to her. She muttered, finally. Right before she grabbed it from me, I quickly put it back on the top shelf and without looking at her, just slowly walked away to do the rest of my shopping. She shrieked a bit about finding my manager and getting me fired, but I was just giggling to myself. I ended up taking my sweet time shopping, hoping she would show up with the manager just so she would embarrass herself more, but I never saw her again. I wonder how her family reacted to hearing the story of the rude idiot Walmart employee she encountered that day. Posted by user WaffleCopter2, titled, No, you don't work here, lady. So, I've never been mistaken for an employee at a place I don't work at, but I did have to tell a Karen that she doesn't work at my store. I work at 7-Eleven, and I've been there for about 6 years now. I used to work the night shift. Boy, do I have some stories from those days. But one that really stands out for this subreddit is the time I had to tell a lady she doesn't work at my store. It was late one night, or perhaps early in the morning, so my cover had gone home for the night, so I was running the store by myself. I had an older woman come in with a younger woman, late 40s and early 20s, so I'm assuming mother and daughter. Mum just so happens to have that Karen vibe to her. She walks up to my counter while I'm taking care of some tasks, and says, "Can I use your bathroom?" Now, we don't have a public bathroom at my store. We have a staff bathroom, but it's behind a locked door that needs a code to get in. Naturally, we aren't supposed to let customers use it. Sorry, we don't have a bathroom. Well, why do you guys go to the bathroom then? Well, we have a staff bathroom, but it's for staff only. Well, I'm staff, so you have to let me use your bathroom. I don't think you work here. Yes, I do. I worked for 7-Eleven 20 years ago, so you have to let me use your bathroom. Again, it's a bathroom for staff only. We'll make an exception for employees that left recently, but even if this lady is telling the truth, she left the company before I was even born. Look, I'm sorry, but I can't let you use our bathroom. Well, I want to speak to your manager. It's about 3 in the morning right now, so our manager is asleep. I'm kinda losing my mind here, because this is my first interaction with a Karen in the wild. I'm still relatively new to the company too, so I can't think of any other option right now. So I say, okay, I'll give her a call. I call my manager, and she's very much not pleased. I explain the situation, and she tells me the best thing to do is ask her to leave. I head back out from the back, making sure to close the door behind me. No promised land for her. When I get back to the counter, she has that impatient Karen trademark look about her. I say, I called my manager, and she says you can't use our bathroom. Yeah, right, passive-aggressive eye roll. My manager also said you have to leave. Whatever, if I piss myself, it's all your fault. Thankfully, she didn't raise a huge stink about it, but wow. I can't think of another time I've had to tell a customer that they don't work at my store. Usually if they do, they know the code already, so they can just walk into the back to talk to the boss. So that's my horror story from the days of endless night shifts. I hope you enjoy reading it a lot more than I enjoyed living it. Posted by user Deserted Chicken, titled, The Time I Was Proven Wrong. About a year ago, I was helping my friend build a computer. So we went to the local computer parts store to buy some components. In the power supply section, we found a few different models that we hadn't considered that had an in-store only sale. So I suggested we walk over to the Fruit-branded laptop stand to read some reviews, because I knew they were connected to the store's internal Wi-Fi network. After a few minutes of reading reviews and comparing prices at other stores, an older man tried to get my attention. At this point, I should note that the employees at this store wear bright neon orange polo shirts, which I most certainly was not wearing. "Excuse me," he asked, "do you work here?" "No, I don't, sorry. The workers are dressed like him," I replied, pointing to one of the workers, who was helping someone else at the time, but I wanted to point out their very bright uniform, which should be pretty obvious to anyone. "I know, but I've been helped by someone wearing normal clothes once," he said. At this point, he seemed pretty nice about it all, ignoring that technically if I was an employee, I would have been helping a customer, so this guy would still be barging in. So I asked him if I could take a shot at answering his question. He asked what the difference between the Touch Bar laptop and the non-Touch Bar version was besides price. After looking, I told him that it looks like it was the only difference, which disappointed him. Then, someone behind us interrupted us. "Can I help any of you guys?" We turned around, only to see that the worker asking us was, in fact, wearing normal street clothes. The old mate excitedly yelled, "See? I told you they don't all wear uniforms," which I conceded. After that, I palmed him off to the actual worker, and my friend and I walked back to the PSU section, where we carried on with our day, a little confused as to what happened. Posted by user Chubb7199, titled, I do work here, but not for you. This took place some 20 years ago, so memory may be a bit hazy, and one or the other details may escape me. I was working as an intern for a manufacturing company that would make car accessories. This was in their global headquarters. Once a year, they would have large conferences with some 200 attendees from the international offices in different countries. This was a 4-day thing that would have almost the entire conference area of the hotel we were hosting in occupied. The large room was set up as an auditorium, and this is where all the presentation related to the best sellers, changes in assortment, novelties, marketing guidelines, etc. would be presented. Then we had 3 more rooms. A relatively small one we used as storage and a back office, and 2 other rooms that had items on display. One room was such that the windows to the outside were floor to ceiling and could open so that a car could fit through them and could be driven in through the fire department access lane that ran outside the building. So in this one room, there were 3 cars that had various accessories mounted in and on them for display purposes. I was on duty to man one of the rooms while opening to the attendees, and spent the remaining time stocking merchandise baskets in the main conference room and giving the hotel catering a heads up when a segment was 10 minutes away from finishing so they could roll out the food and drinks to be ready as people poured out of the main conference room. While the conference was in recess, the attendees were meant to enter these display rooms and look at the items on show as they may have been presented during one of the segments of the conference itself. Many of these pieces were novelties being shown before being released to the market, so they were not meant to be seen by people outside the company. On 2 days where this conference took place, other companies had meetings going on in the other rooms, so the conference area couldn't be closed off from the main hotel lobby, and anyone who wanted to inspect could walk into the conference area. Normally, this was not a problem, because nobody who was not working there would look at a deserted corridor, and when people were out, it was obvious this was a closed group. But one day, during one of the breaks, a family, father and 2 sons, of tourists wandered in, and they went into the room with the 3 cars and the accessories on display mounted on them. It was pretty close to the end of the break, so there was a lot of movement, but they could easily be made out, as children and a man with faded t-shirt and shorts stuck out in a sea of suits. I saw them as one of the kids was making a straight line for one of the cars that had color-changing interior mood lighting and underfloor lighting installed. The color-changing bit was for display purposes, but I digress. As the room was going to be closed off anyway, I was prepared with the key fobs to lock the cars up before turning off the lights and locking the room. Before he could climb in and make a mess with the light system, partially installed so mounting could be visible to the attendees, I shut the car door and locked it, making the kid stop in his tracks and make a face. Before he could run off to the other cars, I dashed over to those and repeated the locking up operation there as well. And none too soon, I may add, because Daddy was already there trying a door and barking at me to open a car for his kids to see. The following dialogue, non-verbatim, ensued. "I say, sir, this is not a public display. You and your children will have to leave. Open these cars, would ya? What's the harm in my kids having a look at the pretty lights? Again, this is not a public display. This is a private convention for invited attendees only. Please leave." He was getting really close to me, which was funny because I must have been a good 50 centimeters taller than him. His kids also now went to his side, as they must have sensed something was not right. I decided that the best thing to do was to slowly walk into him and get him out of the door while he argued with me that I should let his kids get into the cars and play with the lights. The conference attendees had already left for the next segment of the presentation in the other room. He continued with me, being so rude, being nasty to his kids for no reason, and I kept repeating that this was all lovely, but that I was working for the company that was hosting the conference, and that the items on display were not meant for the general public. The moment I had them over the threshold, I pulled the conference room door shut behind me, and as soon as it was latched closed, I slipped off to a side and made my way to the waiters that were disassembling the buffet and asked them if they could help me return these people to the lobby as they were not attendees. This is when Daddy went all indignant and told me I had terrible customer service and he will be making a complaint. And I turned around and replied, "Sir, I don't work for you or this hotel. I don't care if you think I'm rude to you and you want to make a complaint about me at the desk. All I want is for you to get lost from a space my company rented and you have no business being in." He then got really upset and started cursing at me, but the waiters took over and escorted him away from the conference room area, and I returned to the back office to put the key fobs away, and then returned to the conference room with the cars to check that everything was in order and switched off the lights. As I was leaving the conference room, the manager for the conferencing spaces came to apologize, and I told her that it wasn't her fault and that I hoped the guy didn't cause much of a scene. She didn't reply to that, but told me they would be posting someone at the entry from the lobby to the conference area for the remaining breaks that were planned for the day. Oh, talk about no full stops in these sentences. Damn, boy. Hope you guys enjoyed this one today. That's where I'm going to leave this episode. I hope you guys had a good day, night, sleep, whatever you're up to. Say hi to outro Markee for me. Alright guys, that's all for today's video. I hope you enjoyed this one today. Tell me what you thought of it down in the comments below. If you're not subscribed to the channel, I would love you to subscribe because I love your face and I love seeing you here every single day that you are here in this video. I don't know what else to say today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the content. I do have a second channel that's called Markee 2. Link should be up on the screen somewhere here if you don't have adblock installed. If you don't know where to find the channel, you can go to my main page. Just click on the Markee face and it should be on the right, somewhere there, or on channels if you're on phone. Hope you guys have a good one. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.